All right, agents, this is Kevin Lauren. I'm Director of Training and Marketing here. And today we are going to be going through the comprehensive real estate buyer's guide. So this is a really, really cool piece of collateral that you can give to your prospective buyers. And it's going to really outline everything that they ever and never wanted to know about buying a house. So this is a really, really cool piece that I've customized for our agents, and I've got it in our Canva. So everybody's going to have access to this. So we're going to go through this in detail. Before we get into today's topic, we're going to bring Bill Seitz, our corporate broker, on the line. Good morning, Bill. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, loud and clear.
Okay. It's a beautiful sunny day here.
No kidding. It's a great springtime day. Pretty beautiful here in California.
That's right. If you didn't burn your eyes out on trying to see the eclipse yesterday, you you probably are seeing good. But I took a little mini stare at it and was like, yeah, I'm over it.
That's about all I did. My parents went out to Dallas and they said it was incredible.
Yeah. I went to we did like a little family reunion in Stanley, Idaho, like 6-7 years ago when it went through there, and that was absolutely amazing. But not so much here in Southern California.
And then I remember you got to go down to Cabo and see it in the 90s, right?
Yeah, my dad's a big astronomer type guy. Loves to have his telescope, and yeah, that was like what, 1990 something.
I think it was
And
91. Yeah.
yeah, that's right, 91. And so that was super fun to do as a family. I think I was 16 at the time, so it was many years ago.
Yep.
Um,
So,
but yeah, cool. This buyer guide looks good, Kevin, because as we get into it after Debbie's update, it'll lead perfectly into the following week, which we will be reviewing the buyer broker agreement. We did that a few months ago, at the beginning of the year, but I think it's a perfect timing now that we've kind of all digested a lot of this lawsuit stuff, what we anticipate is coming out, the changes that are coming to the industry, and how we can be proactive in adopting better, best practices as the new basic protocol is, expected of us. So
for sure. So that's perfect. And that's exactly why we're doing the buyer's guide today. And then I also have a couple of other collateral materials that I'll be introducing next week as well that are kind of dovetail off of this, because this is, and you'll see as we go through this buyer's guide, it is all about making sure that those buyers know our value, setting our value, ready, making sure that they know exactly why they need a buyer's guide or why they need a buyer's agent, right? And so,
perfect. Yep,
yeah,
it goes hand in glove.
yep. So this is something for some agents, for some buyers agents, they never would have gone on an appointment without some kind of agreement. So that's not going to change for those agents, but everybody else is going to have to kind of catch up, right?
100%. But this is going to be really well with our new knowledge of the buyer broker agreement and this and supporting your value and explaining what you do in the process. It'll be very easy for us to kind of maneuver into the new world here.
For sure. So before we get into today's topic, we are going to bring on Debbie Ciccone from Clearview Mortgage. Hold on one second here. All right, Debbie, good morning. How are you today?
I am doing fantastic as always. Some of the agents I talk to, I want to share a few little tips to make your day go fantastic. Think positively. It will honestly bring good positive business and good positive things in your life. A really good friend of mine who is a personal coach, she told me one day, she goes, just tell yourself that everything always works out for Debbie. Everything always works out for me. Everything's going to work out today or whatever. And when you start getting worried about something, just tell yourself over and over, everything's going to work out for me. Everything always works out for me. And always think of the things that you're thankful and grateful for. It will change your mindset and consequently, maybe the way that other people hear you. So anyway, after that little piece, I do want to talk about two things. One is, I mentioned this last week, Rhonda and we just closed a transaction that I was telling Bill about this, and he thought it would be really, really important to bring it up this morning, that these buyers, I had pre-qualified them up to 835,000 purchase price. And they were going FHA, so putting the minimum down 3.5%. But they found this house with a builder that they just loved. And of course, the builder offers incentives that only if they go with their lender. So unfortunately, we can't take advantage of those incentives, but they went with the builder's lender, and the builder's lender told them they only qualify up to 650. Well, this was a humongous difference from what I'm telling them. And so of course, they're naturally now, skeptical of, well, how come I can do this and they can? I always tell people, ask them, I don't know. But I will tell you that with experience and just going that extra mile, I think all of us at Clearview Mortgage, and I really speak for myself too, we go over and above to really make sure that our figures are correct. And of course, after they told me that, I'm like, I got a little nervous, and I had my processor Bruce just check my figures, and he goes, yep, they qualify to 835. Your figures are correct. I'm not going to tell you what I did exactly to make it work, but I'm going to say, because I don't want to give away secrets, but we do go that extra mile to figure out how to maximize income for a client. Of course, everybody's different. And they closed on Friday. And I tell you, these people were so grateful and thankful. And they gave Rhonda and I a special call to just thank us personally. But she even told me, she goes, I didn't believe it until now because of that builder. So there's a lot of people. This is not the first time that this has happened to me, that someone has come to me and they talk to another loan officer, not with a builder necessarily, but just another loan officer. And that loan officer, what they told them, they hold like in their heart. So when you get a hold of them, they're like, well, I don't know, because this other loan officer told me this. So I don't think we have a chance. Please, please, please do yourself a favor, and you could make money, a lot more money in the year if you help people open up doors or open up their mind to, let's just check it out again, and let us check it out for you. Give me a call. Let me know, what's going on. There could be a chance that we could help them qualify for a lot more. One other piece I just want to go over, because my youngest son is finally now buying his first place, and they were entertaining a 3-2-1 buy down or a 2-1 buy down. Don't forget about these buy downs. It is seller paid, so the seller has to pay for it. But just to give you a little bit of an example, 500,000 purchase price, even putting 15% down. The cost for the 2-1 buy down was 10,000 ish, and the cost for the 3-2-1 buy down was 20,000. This is something that you're going to have to ask the seller to pay. If you have to bump up the price 20,000 to get them to pay this, to get people off the fence and unscared of the current interest rates, this is a way to do it. And because for example, the 3-2-1 buy down, as far as pricing today, and I just priced $1 million loan with a 600,000 loan amount, the the cost for the 3-2-1 buy down is $19,000. No, I'm sorry, I forgot to click the finish button. $27,000. Okay, the 2-1 buy down, the cost is $14,000. If it's possible to bump it up into the price of the home, great. Some areas are a little bit hotter in the real estate market than others. But what this does is, as far as today's pricing for the 3-2-1 buy down, the first year rate is 4 1/8, second year rate 5 1/8, third year interest rate 6 1/8, and the fourth through the 30th year it's 7 1/8, 7.125%. Let's say somebody refinances in the second year because rates went down to 5%. Okay. And they can get now a permanent rate at 5%. There's still money left from the original buy down. I get a lot of questions about this. What happens to that money when they refinance? We have to order a payoff demand. That money that was left over from the buy down is given to the buyer in the form of a principal reduction. So their balance is going to be a little bit less. That's good in a way too, because that'll cover the closing costs, that more than, in some cases, the closing costs to be able to refinance. On the 2-1 buy down, first year rate is 5 1/8, second year rate is 6 1/8, and third through the 30th year, the interest rate is 7 1/8. This may help people. Don't forget about this particular program, because I've come across people that are like, the payment is just too high. Even though they qualify, they're not comfortable with that payment. This could help them just get them off the fence. Again, adding more money in your pocket by the end of the year, if you can think about these little tips. I hope you're writing stuff down. So anyway, but if you need some help, like ideas and stuff, how to make something work, just give me a call. My number's on the screen. You can email me, text me, whatever. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week and prosper. Think outside the box. Give me a call.
Love it, Debbie. Really good information. I mean, you got to remember, Debbie is one of the sharpest arrows in your quiver, so make sure to use her. Anything to add there?
Yeah, just so thank you for reminding Debbie, everybody about the buy downs. It was something that we talked about a lot about last year when interest rates were at their peak. And interest rates haven't fallen, come back down as much as we'd like, but we all do anticipate them. They're still on chart for 3, basically reductions downward this year. And so in the interim, this is a great solution. This is a great way to get your buyers, like Debbie said, they're on the fence, or find a way for them to be comfortable, before, this is an election year, and we all, know they have to do certain things and make everybody fuzzy and warm about the economy. And so it just seems only natural that they will push that through probably by the midsummer, late summer, to make everything look nice and shiny. So, if we can use these buy downs and use these, different tools, because I think sellers are more probably likely at this point to, as long as the terms of the offer are, and they're getting what they need to walk away from the property, or to, take their net proceeds, and they're comfortable and the offer's strong. Why wouldn't they participate in that? It's all how it's presented anyways, right? At the end of the day, it's all how it's packaged up. And lastly, Debbie was able to take, basically a $600,000 approval into the low 8s. Well, the buyer obviously came away super happy, super satisfied. And, for Rhonda Butler, one of our up north agents, it meant an additional $5,000 plus or minus in commissions. So not only did the buyer get to, afford more in the purchase, but it also brought Rhonda a bigger paycheck. So there's a lot of wins in that scenario. And so, when we work together, these types of things happen. So it's really good anecdote. So I appreciate Rhonda and Debbie there on that transaction.
Absolutely. No, thanks a lot, you guys. And just remember to tell your buyers, when those little rate ticks come, each tick down increases the buyer pool exponentially. So sure, the rates will come down, but the competition for the small amount of homes is going to go straight up. Right, Bill?
Yep, the stats show that for every percentage point the rates drop, more people will enter back into the market. And if inventory is still tight, we're going to be stuck in that multiple, crazy multiple offer world, which nobody likes. I mean, we're working way harder to get properties accepted, and that becomes very tough and challenging and sometimes discouraging. So it's better now to say, hey, let's get in now. Let's, we will get you refinanced. We'll find solutions. The competition is not as strong. That's right.
Utilize the buy down right now.
Anyways, good stuff.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks, Debbie, for all that. And so let's shift gears into our buyer's guide. This is a really cool, again, it's a piece of collateral that you can use, first of all, as a guide for a presentation, if you like, So let's get right into this. This is, first of all, completely customizable. I've got it in Canva. So again, if you haven't used Canva, really easy to use. You can go right here, put your website, your phone number, your email, get it completely customized. And then I've even got it all the way at the bottom, put in your name, and you're ready to go. You literally have to change about 10 things, and you've got a super customized, very, very cool presentation piece. And so you can either print this and deliver it in person. You can email this. So this is just a really cool way to present to your prospective buyers. So of course, the first little slide is the reasons to buy a home. And it goes through all the different things that we all know is, important, reasons why you would buy a home. The second little slide down here is the guide to the home buying process. So especially if you're a first-time buyer, and even if you've gone through the process before, the home buying process is daunting. So having, at least some kind of a little guide of what's going to happen is a very cool and a very, in some cases, just a good visual thing for your sellers. So we've got a nice timeline. So this is, what they can expect. We're going to be going through these different, these steps, right? And that way, the buyer, they understand, why we're going to go from point A to point B. And so we've got nice little steps. We're going to, submit the offer. We're going to have the offer accepted, and all these nice little things to really let them understand the process. So this is we're getting into some of the most important parts: buyer representation benefits. So this just happened. Now we have to explain why a buyer's agent is necessary, right? And so we all know why it's necessary. It's a no-brainer for us. But with this whole NAR settlement, now we have to really get out there and explain why we're needed, right? I mean, we all know if you don't have buyer representation, they're not going to be represented properly, and there's a lot more things that they're going to have to worry about, right? So choosing an agent, absolutely. Here's some critical questions. And then this is also good. This is kind of like one of those Gestalt slides where it's like, yeah, you go through these like, all right, yeah, no, I need to be better, right? So this is a great little slide for us, and what to look for in ourselves as buying agents. So this slide here will explain the buying power. So this is really important. Most buyers, they don't know exactly what their buying power is. And so this kind of explains it. This second slide goes into a little bit more detail. And then, so that way you're making sure that they have all of the information possible. You've got, a nice little worksheet for them to fill out, and then they can, figure out their buying power. And of course, you can do this with them. This is part of your job. Make sure that and this is something that you obviously can work with Debbie on. So saving for a down payment goes through, setting the goals, cutting back expenses, and Debbie's huge on all this stuff. Don't buy a car right before you're about to, purchase a home, little things like that. So very, very cool. Saving for a down payment for repeat buyers, right? Just a couple little tips there. And something about for investors. And then, of course, getting pre-approved. Get Debbie involved. So the pre-approval versus the pre-qualification, it goes through that for them. Make sure they understand why they need to be pre-approved, why they need a pre-qual. Loan application rules, right? This is, I think Debbie would love this slide. Don't change jobs, don't buy a car, don't use charge cars excessively, right? Don't spend money that you have set aside for closings, right? These are kind of no-brainers, but a lot of times you have to, put these things in front of someone, and this just articulates it very, very well. And so, it's nice to have a piece of collateral that goes through these things with them, and they can look at it and they can hold it, right? So finding your next home, this is a nice little thing that goes through why you would want to work with a buyer's agent, because we're going to be able to give them all the information that they want. And remember, as a buyer's agent, we're not just gatekeepers. We're not just people that have the key to the dang the lockbox, right? That's it's the smallest part of your job. Your job is all of the ancillary things and making sure that you are, you're the fiduciary. You are making sure that your buyer is being represented, right? And so this is kind of goes through that. And then it also lets them know that, yes, we can get them market updates, right? All of us are members of the MLS on this call, and we can get them direct updates, especially if you have one of the CRMs. So we can, get them information very, very quickly, and we can get them updates on properties. Sometimes properties go down in price, sometimes properties go up in price, sometimes new properties pop up all of a sudden. So, having a buyer's agent obviously gets them all of that information at their fingertips. And then obviously the last slide is our contact information, the next steps, really pushing them to the next step and saying, all right, let's get pre-qualified. Let's start looking at homes. Let's start looking at our the amount of money we have to spend. So just a really good guide for us to use and to be able to provide to our sellers, or I'm sorry, to our buyers. And so this is something that we, most of the agents on this call understand that I'm a huge proponent of the client welcome kit. And so the client welcome kit has some variations of information with this buyer from the buyer guide, but it's a great idea to present both of those things. So you have your client welcome kit and your buyer's guide. If they're a buyer, obviously, there's seller, there's other things that we do, but it's a really good way to present yourself as a professional, and everything looks good, it reads well. And like I said, you can take this and you can customize this any way you want. You don't like the picture? Change the picture. You want to add some other slides? Add some other slides. Get creative with this. This is just a starting point for you. And all of you have different, ways that you help buyers, or you have different specialties. So I encourage you to take this document and make it your own. Put in your own information. You see something that you don't like, change it. Add something. So in Canva, of course, all this stuff is super, super easy to change. And so we can, make manipulations. We can, do anything we want with this document in Canva. So with that said, Bill, any takeaways, especially with respect to us now, pushing these buyer contracts and all that good stuff?
I think this is a really good tangible document that you can, potentially deliver with your buyer broker agreement. So next week, like I said, we'll be reviewing the buyer broker agreement. We'll go through on how to fill it out, what it means, how do you incorporate it into the purchase agreement, because there's a couple of things that are happening at the same time. Is what you're going to explain to your buyer is what your compensation is, what you charge to work as a buyer's agent, right? That most likely, as we talked about in our discussion a couple of weeks ago from the CRMLS council and CEO, is that they feel that most transactions will close. They were saying about 90% they feel will still close with the seller paying the majority, if not all, of the buyer's agent commission. But we're in that time right now. There's a lot of media out there. There's a lot of information, out there that are going to make buyers, kind of they're not going to have all the information. So they're going to just assume that, you know, they're having to pay and blah, blah, blah. But we're going to learn how to, if we say we're working for 2.5%, let's say, and I'm representing Kevin, I say, hey, Kevin, you know what? This is what I do. I present my buyer's guide with the buyer broker agreement. And then we go and we're looking at properties and they're offering 2.5% when I call the agent. Because remember, the field, the MLS field, is no longer going to be, of the compensation field is going to be gone. So we're not going to know if and what they're going to be offering. But if it happens to be 2.5%, I call the other agent. Yep, you know, we're happy to offer that. That will wash itself out. If it's under the 2.5%, then that's where that portion of the difference would potentially have to be worked out. And so we're going to talk about that. But we need to know that really well. And also presenting this with, at time of that discussion with the buyer broker agreement, you know, is a really good way to, like Kevin said, present yourself as a professional. You know how to explain what you do. You know, I don't think it's a bad thing. We're going to be getting to the written contract with the buyers, because also it's going to show that you're dedicating yourself formally to them, right? It's a two-way street. You expect them to commit to you and your time and your service, and they expect you to commit your professional time to them as well. So I think, you know, this type of document with the buyer broker agreement delivered at the same time can set you apart from other agents that are just going to just maybe send over a DocuSign, sign this please. That's probably not going to cut it at the top professional level, to be honest. I don't think, in my opinion. So
No.
so we're going to dig into this a little deeper next week. I think, but something like this is outstanding. I mean, you know, it goes above and beyond maybe just even a one-page little sheet. You know, like, well, you know, there's a nice photo. It looks professional. There's something in a tangible, you know, transfer to somebody and giving them something of value. And you can even throw a $5 Starbucks card on top of it and say, hey, go grab yourself a cup of coffee, review this document. Let's get things going and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? I don't know. You can get creative with it. So
No, for sure. I love the creativity with it. You know, take the things that we give you and, you know, come up with a variation of it. I love it, Bill.
yeah. And so we're gonna master this process as a brokerage. So don't think that we're not gonna put our you know, our brain power on and figure out what's the best practical way, what's working, what's not working. But I think we'll get through this pretty easily.
No, and we're going to be ahead of it. And so that's the whole, you know, point of this is just, you know, let's not just wait for things to happen. Let's get ahead of it. Let's, you know, let's be leaders in the industry, and let's just make something that was unpleasant into something that's positive, right?
Exactly. And just before we finish here, Kevin, Annie Baker, one of our up north agents, has brought to me a little. I think she sent it to me on Instagram. Not sure. I get a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff, but she was, you know, asking about some changes that are potentially come up with regard to flippers. And so the buyer broker agreement and other documents aren't. Well, there's other things that are coming as new law changes. I think we discussed some of the new tenant laws that are changing on July 1st. And so there's some other changes coming. And the question she had asked me is, hey, you know, she sent me this, you know, Instagram about the new changes coming in regard to flippers. So, and I did some research, and yes, that is part of the changes coming on July 1st. And so this particular, you know, portion of the change, it was about, you know, a lot of you guys work with flippers, a lot of you buyers buy flipped properties. And so what they've decided or determined what needs to happen is that if anyone purchases a home and within 18 months flips the property, they're going to need to show the receipts and all contact information for the work performed on the property. And what they're trying to do is alleviate shoddy work, people, you know, that aren't doing things above board. And there's basically a trail of documentation of what was done and who did the work performed. Because I think there's probably been, you know, you can imagine there's probably been a lot of issues with that. And so they're saying, okay, we have a lot of people that are flipping properties. If they're not doing things above board, how do we mitigate that? And so this is just one of many things that's going to happen in July. And so we're on, once again, we're on top of all of this stuff. And as we get a little bit, maybe into late May, early June, we'll start going through all these changes through multiple webinars and getting everyone up to speed on what's happening. So lots going on and lots to keep track of, but that's what we do.
You know it, Bill. Well, agents, thanks for joining us today. It's always great to have you guys on our Wednesday webinars to further your knowledge of the industry. And so we really look forward to having you guys next Wednesday. With that,
Yep. Kev, real quick. Next
Sure.
Wednesday, just going to remind everyone again,
Yes.
buyer broker agreement. So next week's the one you don't want to miss. This is a big one. So
Yeah.
please put it in your calendar, make the attendance, because this is the one that is so important. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Kevin, but I want to make sure that everyone is there next week and we go through. You can ask questions. We're going to dedicate some time to this. So
no, that's very important, Bill. Yeah, we do want to make sure that everybody shows up to that one. I'll be sending out a couple of reminders next week just to make sure. Okay.
perfect. Thanks, buddy.
All right, agents, get out there, make it a great week, a productive week, and we will see you on the Wednesday webinar next week. Bye-bye.